Hello, everyone. This is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cruel and Beautiful Rabbit Hole, Lore and Fray, and the upcoming Jaw of the Dragon, releasing tomorrow, June 10, 2023. I have spent my evening playing Harvest Moon 1997 on NSO, and it is a marvelous experience. And it got me thinking, about how much I really miss this genre of game. Stardew Valley was shit. Rune Factory has gone off the rails. And, there's really no really good farming sim right now. Anyone who tells you that, Stardew Valley is good is clearly has no experience with classic Harvest Moon at all. Because classic Harvest Moon is just fantastic and it is quality beyond anything Stardew Valley has ever accomplished. Stardew Valley is just a cheap knockoff, but this video is not about that. But what I wanted to talk about, something that I've been meaning to talk about for a couple of weeks now, is the announcement that Marvelous is making 2 more Rune Factory games. We don't know anything about them. We think I think they're putting them in a new continuity. They're probably some big 3D games. It's they made the announcement that they're putting out 2 more Rune Factory games, and nobody is excited whatsoever. Rune Factory 5 was such a major disappointment. It was such a major bummer, and it killed any legacy or optimism I had for the franchise with a single entry that I am legit not buying any new games from them ever, right? Rune Factory 5 really was that bad. I'm not only did I boycott it when it first came out, I still don't own it. And honestly, I don't think I ever will own it. I think a lot of these games that have gone woke really will have no legs in the long run. I think Rune Factory 5 is an example of a game that just completely shot the bed when it came to content, when it came to the themes and ideas of the franchise, the soul of it. It went against everything that the fans wanted or expected. And as a result of that, in spite of all the shilling I saw from certain groups online, YouTubers who still like to pretend the game was all right or decent or whatever, it's remarkable how the sequels, the new ones, are getting no discussion at all. Most people don't even know they're coming out. That's how bad it was. With Rune Factory 5, there was a lot of optimism. There was a lot of hype. I explicitly remember saying on this channel that Rune Factory 5 was going to be one of my most hyped games of the year that was going to come out. And in the end, I didn't even buy it, right? Because of all the red flags I saw, all the drama, all the issues, the gay shit, right? There was so much with Rune Factory 5 that just made me really think that, do I really want to support this franchise? And in the end, because I'm not a cuck, I decided not to, right? And in the end, I ended up going back and I'm experiencing classic Harvest Moon games. This is the first time I've ever played Harvest Moon Super Nintendo, right? The original 1997 release. And you know what? This game is excellent, right? It really has stood the test of time rather well. And considering how much this game, specific entry, influenced future titles like The Sims and Animal Crossing, it really does have a place in history. And in fact, I think a lot of players may not be aware that this game even exists. How often do you see Stardew Valley fans try and pretend that Stardew Valley, it's a farming sim, you run a farm. This has never been done before ever. When it's a carbon copy of what Harvest Moon did, but worse. It's embarrassing, right? Playing Harvest Moon, you really get an appreciation for what the devs were able to accomplish back then on the Super Nintendo in 1997. This did come out in 1997, by the way. It came out after the N64 launch, which kind of goes to show you that, consoles can still get classic, viable releases well into a console's lifespan. It's a really interesting experience just playing Harvest Moon for the first time. And I think it really just goes to show you just where audiences are going to go now that Rune Factory 5 has gone woke. Where are we going to go? Where are we going to get our farming sims? We have an entire 20 years worth of good Harvest Moon games that will be slowly trickled out through NSO, and those are the games we're going to be getting. Nobody's going to be getting Story of Seasons, right? That IP even though it's technically is Harvest Moon, it's never going to have the traction that Harvest Moon has. It's never going to have like the publicity. It's done. It's over. It's just been like a stagnant thing. It's never going to take off. It's been years, okay, and they still can't get people to realize that Story of Seasons is Harvest Moon. It just isn't going to happen. And like the quality of the games is shit too. So that there's that. You have like Rune Factory shitting the bed. You have like Stardew Valley like only being viable because like it's the only game that's like it updates regularly and like you don't have to buy sequels. Like in a lot of ways, Stardew Valley is probably like the pioneer in this. Is probably the leader in this race right now of farming sims, but I can see it being eclipsed very quickly once like an actually competent team comes along and actually manages to do like the Harvest Moon formula better, which I don't think will be all that difficult. Like it feels like such a big niche that needs to be filled, and I really genuinely was pushing for Rune Factory to take that mantle. Like I thought after 4 that it was like a guarantee, but no, they somehow like shot the bed so unbelievably hard. They just, it's so frustrating. Like I will never not be salty about what happened. Like the decade-long wait for this. Like, are you serious? Like I have never been so disappointed with a new release. It's just terrible. But I do think let it be known that like I am someone who sticks to their guns and will like boycott releases if I feel it's necessary. Like Rune Factory 4 is one of my favorite games ever, right? Mortal Kombat 2 and 9 are some of my favorite fighting games ever. I'm not picking up Mortal Kombat 1, right? Because the series has gone woke, right? Like I have like committed myself down this path of just really pushing back against these like products, right? Against this like subversion, against this corruption, against the cultural Marxist agenda. Like I am doing my part in preventing these games from entering my library, from entering my headspace, from like doing anything relevant. And because of my actions, because of the actions of people just like me, more and more of these companies are struggling to really get their message across, right? Rune Factory 5 failed, not only just because it was a broken, unfinished mess, but because it pushed gayness into a community that like did not want it, right? Like Rune Factory, I would argue, Harvest Moon in general, like is probably the most anti-woke thing imaginable because you're running a farm, right? Like that takes hard work, right? Like that is like the antithesis to everything that like cultural Marxists like stand for, right? How many of these people do you know who even like own land or even know who have ever even picked up a shovel, right? Like that is who we're up against, right? Like, and I guess I hate to make this comparison, but like, is it safe to say that like Rune Factory might be the gaming equivalent of like Bud Light? Because it really does have that same kind of energy to it where like people aren't really talking about Rune Factory rating anymore. We're not like actively boycotting it, but like seeing how little momentum this release has, like seeing how like little enthusiasm there is for it, like how little coverage, considering how like nobody seems to be talking about this at all. Like, it really does feel like it's not necessarily like an active boycott. Like, it is a straight up refusal to buy certain products that push certain ideas, right? And I really wonder if that's going to trickle over into like other franchises, because it really does feel at this point that like the only things that can get away with like pushing woke nonsense are like the biggest brands in existence, right? Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, Star Wars, Star Trek, the most woke franchise of all time. Like you have all this stuff, right? You have all these series, but like when something lesser known tries it, when Rune Factory tries it, like it immediately falls flat on its face. It immediately fails. And it just feels like, nothing the establishment can do is going to stop this. Like people talk about the ESG score system and how like it's being weaponized to like make companies go woke and like getting all these like crazy loans, like all these opportunities. That's not really sustainable, and I think we're going to see that more and more over like the next 10 years. I think they've already like phased out like the ESG thing for now. We're really going to have to see like how things play out. And, everyone has to do their part, right? It's not just about entertainment. It's not just about gaming. It's not just about Rune Factory. It's not just about like what's happening in America or the world. It's like, it's everything that affects everybody in all sorts of weird, like, malicious ways. And it is something that you, as an individual, as a man, should, like, push back against. Like, it is something that needs to be hated and rejected and, like, spit on, right? That is the era we're going to live in which we're going to have to, like, show them that this behavior is unacceptable, right? And we have to do that by any means necessary. So this is, I think, the beginning of something greater. You know, Rune Factory failing, I'm not happy about it. I wish the game was good. I wish I got my proper Rune Factory 5. I wish I got to experience, like, you know, what I had with Rune Factory 4 again. But, like, you know, things don't always work out, right? You have to move on, and you have to, like, just get over it, right? That's what I'm going to do with Rune Factory. Like, after today, I probably won't talk about it again unless, like, the studio shuts down or, like, they make some explicit statement about this and how it was a mistake. Like, for now, like, Rune Factory is completely dead to me, and I will never talk about it again.